Rachel's family has a history of memory issues that typically begin in their mid to late 50s. Her mother, grandmother, and several other relatives on her mom's side have all experienced memory loss. Her mom lived with us for 4 years until earlier this year, and her father has passed away. Our children are now adults and have left the house. The oldest is finishing up college, and the younger one has joined the military. The past 4 years have been extremely challenging for us, our children, and our marriage. Coexisting with someone who has memory problems is immensely hard. Last year, we talked a lot about using the remaining college funds, our savings, and selling or renting out the house. We were ready to downsize, quit our jobs, and travel for a year or until the money ran out. We simply had to wait until her mother could move into a care facility. I understood her worries about developing memory problems, and I was exhausted. Living through COVID while working remotely, with a wife working from home, a college and high school student attending online classes, and a mother-in-law with memory loss was extremely challenging. Finally, a spot opened up, and we were able to move her mom into a care facility. I believed I might finally get some relief. But when we moved Rachel's mom out, Rachel's mental health took a sharp decline. I shifted from looking after her mother to taking care of her. She felt guilty about placing her mom in a care home and was very anxious about getting dementia herself. We intended to begin traveling in the summer of 2024. 2 months ago, I came home and found a note from her. She essentially announced she would be going on our trip alone. She had quit her job, taken most of our savings, and wasn't sure when she'd be back, maybe in a year, maybe sooner. She assumed I'd understand. Her location is turned off, and my calls go straight to voicemail. I sent the kids a picture of the note. We each have our own checking accounts for our paychecks, but we would transfer most of the money into a joint account for household bills and savings. We both had access to the primary savings account. We have joint credit cards for household expenses. The 2 vehicles and mortgage are jointly under our names. We also have our own small savings accounts, our own retirement accounts, which are equally funded, and our own credit cards for gifts and fun things. I closed all the joint cards and accounts. I held off for a month to see if she would return. After getting just one text during that time, I consulted a lawyer. She basically told me there wasn't much to do right now, other than changing the beneficiaries of my retirement accounts and life insurance. It had only been a month, and there was no way to serve her legal papers. My attorney recommended that I continue paying the mortgage and car payments. The expense of seeking a court order to sell joint assets was greater than just covering the payments. I didn't want to damage my credit by letting one of our cars get repossessed, but I can't sell it because her name is also on the title. I get random texts from her, and she occasionally posts on Instagram. Of course, she has comments turned off. I want to block her so badly, but my lawyer advised me that it's better to keep a communication channel open that doesn't involve our kids. Her last post was from Hawaii. She wrote in the comments about what a great husband I was for letting her take this trip. Meanwhile, I'm barely getting by, paying for 2 cars, a mortgage, household bills, and insurance, hoping no emergencies come up because I have no savings, while she's enjoying our trip. I'm so angry with her. I'm furious with her. I helped take care of her mom for 4 years, and she fell apart after her mom moved into a care home. And now she's repaying me by abandoning me. I'll never get to take this trip, and I have to delay my retirement. The only solace I find is that the children are upset with her, though they will likely forgive her in time. I'm no fool. She's seeing other men. She looks good. She'll have no trouble finding guys. I texted her asking if she was seeing other people. A week later, she replied that she wasn't sure. So here I am, drinking alone on a Friday night, while she's probably somewhere on a beach, enjoying life. My lawyer has given me a lot of advice and options, but it was too much to include in this post. I could certainly pursue the matter more aggressively, and might need to eventually, but it's a costly endeavor. Finding her, serving her papers, and getting a judge to sign off isn't cheap. I'm going to follow up soon, and I plan to talk about the savings and my finances. It didn't really hit me that I had to worry about money until I paid all the bills and saw how little was left. Relevant comments. A Reddit user comments. Thanking you for letting her take this trip is basically her saying that when I'm done living the single life, I'll come back to the comfort and security of married life. When she comes back, I'd tell her, welcome home. Here are your dismissal papers. OOP replies. She's completely under the impression that she's coming back to a marriage. She has had several talks with our daughter and is convinced that I will come to understand and forgive her. A Reddit user comments. Tell your daughter to let her know that you're planning to file for divorce due to abandonment and see if this gets things moving. I don't usually like involving kids in this, but they need to support you here. Maybe even tell her that the kids will cut her off if she keeps doing this to you and the family. You might also want to start posting about how she's living the good life while you're struggling. Everyone might assume you're okay with this if you're not actively sharing the real story. OOP replies. She only hears what she wants. I requested that she provide me with an address to serve the papers, but she said we'll sort it out when she returns. My daughter tells her about all the pain she's causing, but she just says that she only has 5 to 10 years left before she might get dementia. It's unclear whether she will develop dementia, but shouldn't she be using this time to be with her family? Update. Here's an update from my original post. I'm feeling much more positive now that the financial situation is a little more manageable. Basically, I'm running up some debt that will be paid off when I sell the house. Even with the lawyer fees, I have 6 to 8 more months before I need to worry about money. My friend's wife gave me some valuable advice. She told me not to go from being a hero to a villain in my kids' eyes. How I talk about and treat my wife will impact my future relationship with my children. I don't care about my wife anymore, but I don't want to make her look like a victim or push the kids away from both of us. I followed up with the lawyer, and she said, we're going to have my wife repay the savings she took through a reduction in her share of the assets. Any asset division will account for the savings she withdrew. She will also need to reimburse the expenses I incurred for maintaining the home during her absence. Her share of the house and her retirement plans have sufficient equity to cover this. The lawyer mentioned that our finances are so intertwined after nearly 25 years of marriage that my wife is going to get some share of the assets. The best case is she agrees to the terms of the divorce, making it relatively cheap and quick. Otherwise, it gets complicated and expensive. The lawyer gave me a lot of options and what I can expect to spend, so I've decided to mostly wait. I got a couple of credit cards with promotional rates for purchases and transfers. That gives me some breathing room, and I can save cash. I will settle these debts when I sell the house. With my financial situation less burdensome, I am finding myself appreciating her absence. I'm free to do whatever I want, whenever I want. I don't have to cook, clean, or take care of anyone. For the first time I can recall, the house is quiet. I loved my wife, but her mental health issues took a toll on our marriage. Until now, it was worthwhile. For the first month or so, I anticipated her presence whenever I came home. When someone was at the door or if I heard noises, I'd think it was her. I'd check the doorbell camera obsessively. I'm not looking forward to her coming back. It will have to happen. But when she does, I'll have to deal with her. The divorce, getting the house ready to sell, dividing all our belongings, and finding a new place to live. I'm hoping she'll stay away until after New Year's, but my daughter said she thinks her mom will be home for Christmas. My lawyer will prepare the papers for serving her. I hope she will accept the terms and keep traveling. People had some great advice. Renting or selling the house. It's not really feasible right now since I'd have to fix some things and get it ready to sell or rent. Since I need a place to live, the amount I net each month is still important. My kids' rooms are still full of their belongings, and I don't want to spend the time and effort to clear them out and put them in storage. Securing a home equity line of credit. This was excellent advice. I wasn't aware that both parties weren't needed for a loan. If I require additional funds, this is an option. In the short term, the promotional rates on the credit cards were cheaper and easier than getting a home equity line of credit, serving my wife divorce papers, or getting a divorce in her absence. This is a step I may need to take eventually, but the expense for legal fees grows considerably in situations like this. I'm comfortable just waiting for now. Checking the phone bill to see where she's at. I did look at her phone usage and noticed that she doesn't post on social media until after she leaves a place. For example, when she posted about Hawaii, she made a call that day that originated in Los Angeles. She shared about a cruise, and I worked out the dates, which ended a few days before her post. She attempted to add international calling to her plan, but I blocked it, so she removed her phone from our account. Relevant comments. A Reddit user comments, "Oh my goodness, I am incredibly upset for you. The nerve of saying, my husband is so great for letting me take this trip. The petty part of me hopes she'll be home for Thanksgiving, because I want her world to fall apart." OOP replies. She informed her family that she would not be present for Thanksgiving. However, no one informed her that my daughter and I would be spending Thanksgiving with her family. She'll be able to see the posts of us enjoying ourselves without her. A Reddit user comments, "Please change the locks on the house so she can't just walk back in when you're out one day. I'm so angry on your behalf. I've been married for 23 years, and if my husband did this to me, God help anyone who got in my way." OOP replies, "She left her keys. I changed the code on the security system, the passphrase, and the password. I also found a new hiding spot for the emergency key we had in the backyard." Update 2. My wife texted me in the middle of December, saying she would be home for Christmas. I informed her that our daughter and I would be staying at my brother's place. She obviously wasn't welcome. I would park her vehicle in the driveway and place the key fob in the backyard. She was not permitted inside the house unless I was present. She lacked keys to enter. She spent Christmas with her sister. When we got back, I met with her. I chose not to be excessively confrontational as I didn't want to provide her with the satisfaction of believing I cared enough to be upset. She was taken aback by my indifference. It was clear it troubled her that I didn't display much emotion, not even anger. My sole aim was to have her consent to a divorce. This summarizes multiple meetings, both involving and not involving our daughter. I asked why she left without telling anyone. She mentioned that she didn't want to postpone for a year. She didn't want anyone dissuading her. She was ready to stop working. She wanted to leave before her mental health deteriorated. I believe her primary concern was avoiding my interference with her decision to take the money. She was aware I would manage the kids and the house during her absence. We planned to leave in the summer of 2024 for several reasons. The task of packing up and preparing the house for sale would be substantial. We aimed to ensure our daughter completed her college education, secured a job, and established herself. We also wanted to have sufficient funds upon our return. Without a house, vehicles, or employment, we required funds since it could take months to secure work and housing. We wanted to avoid any stress or complications upon our return. At some point in our planning, she began questioning if she ever wanted to go back to our old life. She was not interested in working full-time or purchasing a home and remaining in one location after our return. She wasn't sure what she wanted, but she didn't think she would figure it out by talking to me. I told her that's the reason we were taking the trip, to figure those things out together, to see what we wanted for the next part of our lives. I inquired why she didn't finalize the divorce before her departure. Then she wouldn't have had to do this behind our backs, and she would have had plenty of money without taking our joint savings. She claims that she didn't want a divorce, and that she wanted us to live whatever life she figured out. I told her that's not how marriages work. One person doesn't get to decide for the other. In her texts with our daughter, her family, and me, she realized I might not forgive her, and she was right about that, so she might have to envision envision a future without me. This is where I had hoped she would say something ridiculous, like she was going to waste all her money living in a van and making travel vlogs, or she met someone that she needed to send money to so they could open an ice cream shop in Alaska. She prefers to become a digital nomad, working part-time remotely and living in various locations. She attempted to persuade me to join her, but I cannot trust her, and my feelings for her have faded. Traveling in that manner for a few years seems appealing, but she currently lacks a job or any planned work. She's not in her 20s, and that way of living will get old quickly. No close friends, no family. I hope she succeeds, so she doesn't return attempting to re-enter our lives. How are the kids doing? Our son would not have been in contact with us throughout her absence regardless. He communicates with her through brief texts only. He mentioned that she wanted to meet him, but he claimed he was too occupied to escape. Living in the barracks provides a convenient reason to avoid her. My daughter stopped texting her. She is quite distressed. Her anxiety transformed into anger upon realizing her mother wasn't experiencing a mental breakdown but was simply being selfish. If her mom was staying around, they could probably work through it eventually. My primary concern is my daughter's happiness, so I will support her decision, whatever it may be. Did she spend all the money? About half. I think she realized she needed to figure things out before she completely ran out of money. Did she have an intimate relationship with anyone? I didn't ask because I didn't care. Asking would imply I wanted her back, or that it would matter. Even though I didn't ask, she claims she didn't. I'm uncertain whether she is being truthful or not. She might be saying this to avoid giving the kids another reason to be displeased with her. Does she regret what she put us through? She claims she does and regrets not managing it in another way. She mentioned that leaving and finding herself was the best choice for her. I told her she was just being selfish. When she first left, we were worried something might happen to her, and we'd never see her again. She's always been self-centered. I told her she's choosing the easy path and leaving everyone else to handle the hard parts. If she gets sick, the kids will take care of her. If she runs out of money, she'll live with family. Abandon everyone? They'll forgive her. She believes her siblings and our children will let her live with them, just like we let her mother live with us. I'm sure when she imagines her future, she sees our kids there. They might not be, and certainly not as they used to be. Even though it might sound different, I'm actually very satisfied with how everything turned out. Our divorce isn't finalized yet, but we've agreed on the major things. We'll sell the house, figure out how to split the retirement and profits from the house, how to repay the money she took, and what I spent maintaining the household. I received nearly everything I wanted from the settlement, and she will soon be mostly out of my life. I won't have to pay spousal support, and since she's choosing to earn significantly less than she used to, I won't be required to support her. That would have been a big blow. She isn't my responsibility anymore, and I won't have to care for her if she gets sick or loses all her money. I decided I'd start dating again. I didn't realize that a 50-year-old man with grown-up kids, a good job, and in decent shape would be appealing. I'm not overwhelmed with attention, but I've had a lot more interest than I expected. It has been somewhat pleasant meeting new women. I've done the math, and I'll be doing pretty well after everything is settled, and I only have to take care of myself. It's not where I thought I'd be. 50, going through a divorce, and seeking support on Reddit. However, I am more content now than I have been for quite a while. I'm even planning a small vacation for myself. Relevant comments. A Reddit user comments. I have been thinking of you regularly, especially during Christmas. I'm pleased that you have resolved things and are feeling happy. Your wife is selfish and foolish. At some point, she's going to realize that she made a huge mistake and lost the people closest to her. I wish you great success with your dating and hope you have a very joyful and loving future. OOP replies. A lot of women my age either have young kids or are looking to have kids soon. There's nothing wrong with that, but I have already raised my children. Another Reddit user comments. Sir, you are a great catch. For your information, don't date anyone under 30. Cheers to a new life. OOP replies. I recently managed to get everyone out of the house. I'm not dating anyone who has young kids or wants kids. This story of Rachel's husband caused me despair. How he must feel weighed down by betrayal and abandonment. After years of taking care of Rachel's mother, making sacrifices and bearing with the difficulties in their marriage, he is left with nothing but sadness. Rachel is so selfish to have taken all their savings to go on a trip alone and leave him to take care of everything. I can't imagine how that emotionally affects him. The isolation she feels, the rage, the bafflement. It's just too much for one person alone. Almost unbearable. It is really painful to watch someone who has given up so much suffer so unjustly.